You're listening to MJCF Presents Abolish, a conversational series uncovering truths from the family regulation system, aka Child Protective Services. My name is MJ. Let's jump right in. So joining me today is an amazing, wonderful special guest, Nate Hailpern. I am so excited for you to be here. So when Nate and I met, the parent advocates that I work with are all absolutely incredible. But Nate is so special because he has been in the system on multiple levels. So him and I have related by being youth in the system, but then he's also been successful in his case as a parent. So I wanted Nate to talk a little bit about what was that journey like for him to be a parent in the system after being a youth that survived the system and aging out of the system, because those are just multiple dynamics involved. So tell us, Nate, welcome. Hi.
Yes.
So what do you currently do?
So I'm parent advocate is what it's called for ORPC, which is the Office of Respondent Parent Council. And they're responsible for providing attorneys and legal representation for indigent parents in the child welfare system, so public defenders, and for all the 64 counties in Colorado. And so an attorney can request for somebody to do a special evaluation or for an expert witness of some kind, so anything that they can use to help lead their case to a successful closure.
Yeah.
And one of the resources they're able to get now is somebody that's a parent advocate.
So
they can request a parent advocate, and a parent advocate is somebody who has had to have had their own child welfare case where they were their parent. They had to have had a successful case closure, and it's had to have been closed for at least a year.
And successful case closure is meaning that
Their
your
families
children
were
were
returned home, full custody, and the department exited your life.
Perfect.
So now, any parent who can meet those types of requirements is able to be a support for parents who are going through similar situations and same lifestyles and come from same backgrounds.
Yeah.
And there's somebody who doesn't have to be in a courtroom all day and that's super busy and has a ton of meetings that involve their time, and they can actually take the time to be there when a parent needs a call or a text message and just be there for support and anything that they're going through. And some of that is providing resources and helping them navigate things that they don't understand. And a big part of it is advocating for them, because a lot of people don't know. A lot of parents in that situation, they don't have the ability to articulate and defend themselves in those kinds of situations, while also be able to progress in their case at the same time. And
Absolutely.
it's really hard to do those things. And so that's mostly what I do is working with parents, and we just go out to lunch, we just go out to dinner, whatever works for them. And they just let me know what it is that they're going through and what they have going on in their lives, what the world's telling them to do, and what they want to do, and try to help them come to a rationalization of what logical choices they have, and whatever choice they choose. And most people, when they have all the options, most people choose to put in effort to do the right thing. So it's really easy just to support people in doing that. Some people don't know what it is that they need.
Absolutely. You know, one thing that I love about ORPC here in Colorado is that everyone is an independent contractor. So even though you have this community of other professionals that work, all together, you still own your own business, essentially. So no one is telling you have to take this case or you have to do this or you have to speak. And I did not realize that until some of my colleagues across the nation said it's not always set up that way because what we don't want is for parents that have been through the system to be exploited and then re-traumatized. So someone kind of like buying your story or buying your piece. And I didn't even think about that because the way it's set up here, to me, is just so independent, and you have that.
And I like that, and that affords, because and everybody amongst the parent advocate program, they all come from really different backgrounds and life experiences, and our relationship to the child welfare system was different, and so in all of those ways, those are different assets to being able to help. Not one person can connect with every single type of person or build a relationship with anybody. So it's really good to have that kind of diversity. So there's so many different ways. There's so many different ways a parent advocate could be. can advocate for a parent.
So successful. I love the program, so I talk very highly of it, mainly because, it's the people that make the program. Mm-hmm. So I love that you have the freedom to assist and advocate the way that you would advocate, not necessarily the way someone taught you to, or someone, read a book on how to advocate for a parent, but this is just what you do. Let me ask you this question. Do you think it would have made a difference if maybe your parents had a parent advocate when they had a case when you were a child?
Probably 100% for sure.
Really?
And it's also completely, I can remember back then, and I know the way it is now, and things are different. But like one of the things that was thinking about recently was how long my case was open as a child. Years. And now doing this now, there's things in place to prevent those types of things from happening. Mm-hmm. But like for 4 years, from the moment that I was taken away to the moment my mom's rights were terminated, that was like a 4-year period. I don't see that as being something that could happen easily today. So I do think some progress has been made, but I know for sure there's a lot of resources available now. And I don't think those kind of resources were available then.
Yeah.
And it was like really A, B, and C. You have to go to A, you have to go to B, and you have to go to C.
And that's it.
And then that's it.
There was nothing in between that wiggle room. Now, we are going to also talk about your story as a parent in the system as well. Do you believe that it would have been helpful for either you or for Brittany, your partner, to have had a parent advocate when you were a parent in the child welfare system?
For me, I know for sure definitely would, because a parent advocate represents something completely different than what every other person in that courtroom represents. And so for me as an individual, I would have assessed that and I have a higher chance of giving somebody the opportunity to earn my trust, to be able to tell them the situation that I'm in, to allow somebody to support me out of that. Absolutely. But if you can't trust somebody, how can you allow them to support you? You know what I mean? So I didn't have that. And I think that before it was called parent advocates, at least for us, like I know for my wife, there was definitely somebody who was a part of the case, didn't work for the department, and not an attorney, but in many ways, I feel like she kind of played that role to her.
Oh, good.
So, and she wasn't able to advocate in the way that we can, because she wasn't part of the meetings and the court proceedings and stuff like that.
She was more behind the scenes.
She was more behind the scenes of it, but it was somebody, and that was something that really helped her. So I think both me as a parent, and I think both my parents when I was a kid, could have benefited from somebody like a parent advocate, whose role is how my role is as a parent advocate. You're able to develop a level of trust that you can't develop with any other of the professionals that are part of the team, and you're able to influence and give them perspective that no other part of the team that has. And my mom didn't have something like that. My dad didn't have something like that, and I didn't have something like that. And unfortunately, my parents weren't able to navigate their way out of that on their own. And I was blessed with the opportunity to be able to navigate out of that. But in many ways, I feel like I did it alone, and without the support of them. The things that they provided were the things that they provided, but I got to those places and I did those things. Nobody helped us any part along the way.
Yeah. I think, it sounds like building that trust involves someone that has been through it. And I think that's how parent advocates are very separate from, they're still considered a professional. You're still working within the system, but having that perspective of being a survivor yourself, I think just gives a strong foundation to build something truthful
absolutely. With
a parent that's going through it.
There's many things I could do now as a parent advocate for other parents that I couldn't do for myself. And even in meetings and speaking, even just speaking what's going on, there's many things that I couldn't say for whatever reason that now I don't have to, and I just had to take being walked on or just take being manipulated and just swallow it. Yeah. And now I'm not right there no more. You're not going to do somebody else like that. I let you do that to me, but I'm not going to sit here and just watch you do it to somebody else. Yeah. And people listen because now I'm not the person in that situation, and I'm not the person that I feel like you're trying to exploit right now.
Absolutely. That's really powerful, because it sounds like that you're in this role of being supportive, but also protective at the same time.
And I feel super supported as well. So it's really easy to just be myself and know that even though I'm a professional in the situation that I'm in, that I also have a bunch of people that are supporting me. and who understand and share similar morals with me. And I know that if I'm doing the right thing, I know that there's a bunch of people that are not going to let me get taken advantage of.
Absolutely. So on this show, we like to do shout outs. We like to do shout outs to people that do good work. Are there people at ORPC that you want to give shout out to? Because I know I have some people over there.
Jill.
Yeah.
Jill Cohen.
Shout out to Jill.
She's MJ.
Amazing.
Shout out to MJ.
Oh, thank you, my dear.
All of the parent advocates.
Yeah.
All of them.
They're amazing.
Cameron, thank you for setting the example and getting us to the second year.
He's like our number one.
Yeah.
He's our number one, Cameron. Yeah, no, everyone over there at ORPC, it just feels like such a strong unit.
Community.
Yeah. And I think that's what's missing
Yeah.
in working in human services, the
And-
humanity.
And
of
also,
everyone.
even ORPC itself didn't exist when I was a child in the
You're
child
right.
welfare system.
You're right.
It was I don't know what it was during that time, but I know it wasn't ORPC.
It wasn't. I think everyone was just an independent attorney, and everyone just had these independent contractors, but there wasn't these like rules and laws of like foundation. Wow, I forgot about that. I didn't even think about that.
You can do whatever you want.
I mean, that's kind of how it feels
Yeah.
like. I mean, but same with OCR. OCR, I'm not sure how the Office of Children Representative, I'm not sure if they were really established, because I remember you talked a little bit about the relationship with your guardian ad litem
Mm-hmm.
that represents your best interest and how there was a disconnect with that relationship.
Yeah.
So hopefully we're doing a little bit better, but I still think that we need people like parent advocates, people that have lived experiences to say, this is not how we should be doing it. I mean, we have a long way to go. The MJ consulting firm is all about the abolishment of the child welfare system. We're not about, tap dancing around the perpetrator of white supremacy in the system.
I know for me, one of the things I've always known about the Department of Human Services is it's this large building that's responsible for so many different things.
Mm-hmm.
And one little section is the child welfare.
Mm-hmm.
Who's responsible for protecting the children of our communities. And that's right next to the vending machines and a bunch of other offices for a bunch of other different things.
It's true.
And we're talking about, at least in Colorado, 64 counties. You have 64 buildings, and just a little tiny piece of each of those buildings is what's protecting our children.
Yeah.
And that probably contributes to the underpaid and overworked factor as well. So I mean, it's there's got to be something outside of what's already established
100%.
in order for it to. It's the start. Everything about it. The statistics are in. We've seen what it does. We tried their algorithm.
Yeah.
And the algorithm doesn't work.
It's not successful. It's not successful.
It's not.
How new is the parent advocate role to the system?
2 years. We're in the second year, right? Because Cameron did it for 1 year.
Yeah, Cameron did.
Oh, in the whole system or in Colorado?
No, in the whole,
So they were doing this out of New York, but people don't have this other places. So New York has been doing it for many, many years. Because Jill, who's over us, the parent advocates and the social workers, she was doing that back in her 20s, and she's in her 40s now. But we just got it in Colorado last 2 years ago.
And I also believe it's structured different, isn't it?
It's structured.
They're not independent contractor parent advocates.
So we're very different. We're very different, and that's why I wanted to make that note, is because I've heard of parent advocates being just taken advantage of. Just truly taken advantage of.
They were employed.
Yeah, so it's just like, you tell your story when I tell you to tell your story.
Employment contracts.
Yeah, so it's very different. But here, Nate has, he can have his own LLC. He can have his own business. Yeah, he has his own LLC. He take whatever clients he wants. He works with the attorneys that he want to work with. If there's an attorney he's like not feeling it, he gets to say no.
And at the same time, I don't have anybody regulating what I'm doing with the parents.
Or how you're doing it.
Or how I'm doing it with it. It's based on whatever it is that I want to do. And there's no right or wrong. There's obviously bad ways of going about it and good ways of going about it. But no
one is overseeing you and telling you to do step 1, 2, 3, and 4
with their agenda.
Yeah.
I didn't sign to anybody else's agenda. I feel like that's how I would word it.
You're absolutely right.
Because if you were a parent advocate who's employed by the department,
it looks a lot different.
It's a whole different different thing.
I don't know what that success rate looks like and how they find success, because
and also it makes you wonder how honest of a job they have to be. Like, you should be able to do this job honestly.
Yeah.
And there is a way to do it, and that's the way we're doing it right now. And I'm sure in other places, when they do have that, human beings that are doing that kind of work are doing it because they believe in doing the right thing.
Sure.
So they shouldn't have to feel, and that's why people shy away from those things, and you're not going to get the same kind of results because of that kind of stuff. People aren't going to sign away their morals.
Yeah.
You can't, you can't buy what you're trying to get.
It's so true. Yeah. So it's different. It's different. Many other places, and a lot of people don't have parent advocates. So it's been mainly, I've known it on believe in Virginia, DC, East Coast, but I haven't known of a lot out here. So I'm happy that it's out here. We hear from parents, and myself as a professional, I've heard this from parents. You don't know, you don't get it, you don't understand. I usually then share with my parents, I understand from a child's perspective because I was a kid in the system as well. I'm a survivor of the foster care system. But a lot of professionals that do this work, they don't get it. They don't understand. So especially some of the new caseworkers that are young, straight out of school, not a lot of life experience when it comes to working with a certain population, not a lot of exposure to just...
It seems more robotic than personal.
Yeah, and I know as a parent, you called that out a lot.
Yeah.
On professionals, I think, and I thought that was just...
When I was going through my child welfare kids,
absolutely.
with my kids, yeah.
So thank you for telling me about the Parent Advocate Program. As we're supporting parent advocates in the system, I am at the same time trying to break it down because the system is completely just...
Yeah.
It's just negative.
It's
rooted in white supremacy. It drips in racism. And it feels yucky. I mean, we had another, parent advocate that works with us that said, and he's new to this, and he was a survivor of the system as a parent, as a, African-American man. And he was saying that it just doesn't feel right. Like it doesn't, even on the other side. So
doing
on the other side,
now,
it's still a system that
it makes you feel dirty.
It makes you feel dirty.
Yeah.
Because you know that even though you're advocating for what's best for the family and your heart and your job, you still know ultimately the entire family is being traumatized and screwed over the whole time. So that's what makes it uncomfortable, is that it's like, yeah, I'm helping. But again, I use the analogy of, if you were, in prison and you knew someone was getting the death penalty and there was nothing you can do about it, but you made them the last beautiful meal that they wanted. And it was the best meal that they ever had. And you take pride in making them the best meal because at least you gave them that. But ultimately, if you look at the bigger picture, this person is still dying and is innocent. So that just feels uncomfortable. So that's how it feels working in the system for me. Nothing shy of that. And with abolishing the child welfare system, which is what we need to do, and reimagine how to build it based off of the community that it is there to serve, we can make it a lot better.
Yeah.
Only we should treat ourselves and heal ourselves. I don't think any outsiders should do that.
Yeah.
That's called, colonization. We know that doesn't work. We're still trying to heal from that. But yeah, I want to shift a little bit because you do so much work for the community and you've always done work for the community. But recently you joined the MJ consulting firm.
I did.
And it is a blessing and a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
Could you tell me a little bit about your role at the MJ consulting firm and what you do and how does it feel in the need?
Well, I really wanted to be a part of it because I knew that you guys were looking for someone like a youth survivor, somebody who, in many ways, even yourself, that's part of the reason why you've created it. So, and I've always known that since I first met you. I knew the reasons behind what you started, and I've always listened. I mean, I've always talked, but I always listened, and so I felt really honored when I was asked to be a part of it. And I plan to have for it to be a community of places for kids. And I mean, being one of them, and in the process of being one for so long, there's so many kids that I did meet.
Yeah.
There's so many foster siblings, foster brothers, foster sisters, foster cousins. There's just I've met a lot of kids in all of those foster homes. All of those foster homes, I was never, not one time, the only foster kid. So, and all of those times there was always other kids, and I really, and I can remember being younger and just being able to analyze and know their perception of what they think has happened to them.
Yes.
It may not be the truth because I know what the world is telling me.
Yeah.
It's not the truth because I was there.
It's not lined up.
And so and I really was always that way. You can't really say that. I've met a lot of kids, who in some way formed their parents' rights, were terminated, and they were in the system, foster kids, and they just have it they're under the impression that their parents hated them and they didn't care about them.
Didn't love them.
And they didn't love them. In most cases, I would guess that's not the case. And everybody has their struggles. everybody as individuals grows at different paces, and some people are exposed to things that other people aren't exposed to.
Yeah.
And when the system gets involved, the ones that really can't defend themselves are the ones who are exploited the most. And that's something I've just seen. I've just seen a lot of it. So many kids, like, my parents hated me, my parents didn't love me, and it's just like, you don't know that.
And that's a rhetoric
You
that
can't.
Yeah.
And that affects your whole entire life.
100%.
It just affects the way they live, the way
your
they
foundation,
think.
Your how you build relationships with others, how you build trust, and so forth.
Yeah. And I know for me, trust has probably been my largest, like my biggest weakness my entire life. And I still am only human. I've gotten a lot better, and I understand trust a lot more, and I understand the things that happen to me and its relationship with me being able to trust people. So it's different now. But I mean, for many, 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 many years, relationships were just any type of relationships, friendships or spousal relationships or relationships with family members. Those were never built on a foundation of trust.
Absolutely.
Like there was no foundation. So it was really hard to believe that you can have something when, like, as a kid especially, like, it's hard to, it's one of the things I used to say, it's hard to love somebody when the people that I feel like were biologically programmed to love me couldn't love me. And that was just part of the things that the system feeds you. And you go to all of these different things as a kid. You go to these therapies and you have all these different influences, and everyone's trying to influence you based on their perception of you. And they've only known you for how long?
Mm-hmm.
They don't know anything about your background, the culture, the life you've lived, just because somebody lives in a small studio apartment doesn't mean they have any less of a beautiful life than the person in the penthouse.
Yeah.
And that's not the way the kids in the system are treated.
You're absolutely right.
Ultimately, the kids suffer the most consequence for something that wasn't their choice.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. You've been the director of the youth survivor, community under the MJ Consulting Firm umbrella. What do you hope for other kids to gain from that? Because these aren't kids that are actually in the system. These are youth that have aged out of the system. So they either grew up in the system, were in foster care at some point, or in a group home and so forth. And we just wanted it to be an outlet for them to say, you're not the only ones that's been through this, because there aren't any support groups for that. So what do you hope for them to gain from being a part of this community of hopefully healing?
I want people, I feel like for me, everything changed for me when I realized that who I thought I was limited by who I thought I was. And I had to really think about, everything that I went through, and including the things that I was accountable for and the things that I was innocent as a child and things that were out of my control. You always have a choice, and you always have a choice. And you don't have to be a product of your environment, and I also feel like it's human nature, and a lot of us aren't given the perspectives and don't have the influences to be able to help us get us to a different perspective. But I just think that when I realized that I can make the choices to control my environment, and I can make my environment a product of me, and that's how I got here, and that's how I made it out of those situations. Because at some point you have to stop allowing everything that's out of your control influence your emotions and your choices, because it's going to harm what's best for you in the end. And once I was able to realize that and do little things that helped affirm that I can believe in myself and that I don't need anything else. I don't need anybody else. I can get myself to where I want to be regardless of what everybody else in the world is doing. It happened. Yeah. It happened. So I want those kids to know, no matter what the situation is, you have value, regardless of what anybody's told you, regardless of what the tragedies that's happened in your life and where you've been and however you made it out of those situations, that you can still put yourself in any situation that you can imagine.
Yeah, that is very true. That is very true. I'm excited about you being this new addition to our team. We have a lot, going on with the protests, and you've been so involved in getting volunteers and coordinating everything. And
it's almost 100% locked.
You are amazing, and we appreciate you. So thank you. Thank you so much for this, and thank you for joining us.
I'm excited.
Thanks for watching, and tune in next week for part 2 where we will be bringing in Nate's partner, Brittany DeBaris.